What will you do if your child is starving and the only way to feed her is to beg strangers for their leftover food? Or if sickness came for the only person that meant the world to you and you had no money to save her? Stacy, a struggling single mother, only wanted her little daughter to survive. But instead of kindness, the world gave her humiliation, laughter, and shame. They mocked her, recorded her, and even threw her out of her home with nothing. But this happened. The noise of the city was everywhere. In the middle of it all, a tired young woman called Stacy held her daughter's hand. Her little girl, Cindy, was only 6 years old, but her face looked weak and pale. She had not eaten good food for days. "Mommy, I'm hungry," Cindy whispered, holding her stomach. Stacy's chest tightened. She bent down and wiped the tears from Cindy's cheeks. "Don't worry, my baby, I will find something. Just hold on." But deep inside, Stacy had no idea where food would come from. That morning, they had eaten gari from a neighbor, but by afternoon, when Stacy knocked again, the neighbor refused to open the door. She was tired of begging people who either pitied her or got angry. Still, the thought of her child starving gave her courage. As they walked along the busy street, the smell of fried chicken and jollof rice filled their nose. There was a big restaurant at the corner. People in expensive clothes were going in and out, laughing, ordering more food than they could finish. Stacy stopped. Her throat went dry and her stomach growled. She looked at her daughter, whose small lips were trembling. "Stay here, Cindy," she whispered. "Mommy will get something for you. Just wait for me, okay?" The child nodded weakly. Stacy adjusted her torn blouse and entered the restaurant. At once, she was marveled by the look of the place. The tiled floor was shining, the smell of spices was everywhere, and rich people's voices filled the place. At one table, 2 young women sat scrolling on their phones. Plates of fried rice, chicken, and salad were in front of them, half eaten. Stacy swallowed her shame, stepped closer, and bent slightly. "Please, my sisters," she said softly. "I'm sorry to disturb you. My child is outside, very hungry. If you can't finish this food, please let me take the leftover for her." The women froze, staring at her. Then one of them hissed, "Eh? What did you say? You want to carry our leftover food? Are you mad?" The other one laughed so loudly that people turned to look. "See her mouth. Instead of finding work, you are here begging for scraps like dog." The first one shook her head and pushed the plate away with force. Rice spilled on the floor. "There, pick it from the ground if that's what you want, shameless woman," the woman said. The restaurant erupted with laughter. Some people brought out their phones and started recording. Stacy's face burned with shame. Her legs shook, but she forced herself to bend and grab a small piece of chicken that had fallen on the chair. She held it in her hand and ran outside before her tears dropped. Outside, Cindy looked up at her. "Mommy, you brought food?" "Yes." Stacy forced a smile through her tears and gave her the piece of chicken. The child ate slowly, licking her fingers as if it was the best food in the world. Stacy turned away so her daughter would not see her crying. But someone else had seen everything. A tall young man in a simple white shirt and black trousers stood at the restaurant door. He had watched her beg, he had watched the laughter. And unlike the others, he did not laugh. His eyes followed her and the little girl. He stepped outside with his hands in his pocket. "Excuse me," he said. Stacy shook in fear and wiped her face quickly. "I'm sorry, sir. We are leaving now." But the man did not move. He looked at Cindy finishing the chicken bone, then back at Stacy. "What is your name?" he asked. "Stacy," she answered quietly. "And the child?" "Cindy." The man nodded slowly. He looked like he wanted to say more, but instead he just turned and walked back into the restaurant. Stacy grabbed her daughter's hand. "Come, let us go before anyone else laughs at us." And quickly they disappeared into the noisy street. That night, Stacy and Cindy returned to their one-room face-me-I-face-you house. The room was hot and dark. An old small mattress lay on the floor. Mosquitoes buzzed around. Cindy curled up beside her mother. "Mummy, when will we eat rice again?" she asked faintly. Stacy stroked her daughter's hair, blinking back tears. "One day soon, my baby. One day soon you will eat rice until you are full." But after Cindy slept, Stacy lay awake, staring at nothing. Even her own stomach was empty, and her eyes sore from crying. She had nothing, no job, no family, no friend, only shame and hunger. Still, she whispered to herself, "I must not give up. For my daughter's sake, I must keep going." The next morning, Stacy woke early to fetch water. She tied her faded wrapper and carried her bucket. At the borehole, two women were whispering behind her. "See that one?" one murmured. "She was the one begging for leftover food yesterday. I saw the video on WhatsApp." The other laughed. "Yes. She even bent down like beggar dog. Shame will kill her." Stacy's eyes burned, but she kept her head down. She finished quickly and left. Back in the room, Cindy was awake, rubbing her stomach. "Mommy, I'm hungry," she cried again. Stacy knelt beside her daughter. "I know, my baby," she whispered. "Don't worry, I'll find something and get food for you today. I promise." She stepped out again to search for work, but everywhere she went, people shook their heads. "No work, we don't have any vacancy for you." By evening, she was tired. She sat on the roadside with Cindy sleeping on her lap. The sun had set and the street was noisy with buses honking. She didn't notice the same young man from the restaurant standing quietly across, watching her with serious eyes. The days after the restaurant humiliation were even harder for Stacy. The video of her begging for leftover food had spread quickly. Neighbors whispered any time she passed. Some laughed openly, pointing fingers. Even children talked to humiliate her. Each time she heard it, Stacy's chest broke, but she couldn't hide her face forever. She still had Cindy to feed. One evening, Stacy came back after walking around the streets looking for work. She had gone from one shop to another, asking if they needed a cleaner or even a salesperson. But everywhere she heard the same thing: no vacancy. By the time she reached home, Cindy was waiting, her small arms wrapped around her stomach. "Mommy, hunger." "Did you bring food?" she asked weakly. Stacy knelt and hugged her close. "I'm sorry, my baby, I didn't. But tomorrow I will try again, okay?" The words felt so saddening even as she spoke. She was really helpless. That night, she boiled only hot water and gave it to Cindy to drink. The little girl drank and curled up, pretending she was satisfied. Stacy turned to the wall crying so her daughter wouldn't see her tears. The next morning, as Stacy swept the small corridor outside her room, her landlady, Mama Uju, stormed toward her. "Stacy," the woman shouted, "how many months' rent you owe me?" Stacy dropped the broom and bent her head. "Please, Mama Uju, just give me more time. I will pay." "Pay? With what?" Mama Uju barked, placing her hands on her waist. "You don't have job, you don't have husband, you think I will allow you to live here free? If I don't see my money this month, I will throw you and that your good-for-nothing child outside." Stacy felt hurt by the humiliation, but what hurt her most was the landlady calling her child good-got-nothing. Neighbors peeped from their doors, whispering and laughing. Cindy held her mother's wrapper, scared from the shouting. Stacy carried her daughter quickly inside and wept uncontrollably. Deep inside, she feared Mama Uju's threats might come true. Later that day, as Stacy sat outside the compound with Cindy, a young man walked up. "Good afternoon," he said politely. Stacy looked up and recognized him. It was the same man from the restaurant. He was wearing a simple shirt and slippers, nothing special about him. "Good afternoon, sir," Stacy replied, embarrassed. She still remembered how he had seen her that day. The man looked at Cindy, who was lying tired on her mother's lap. "Is she all right?" he asked. Stacy forced a smile. "She is fine, just a little weak." Without another word, the man reached into his pocket and brought out a small nylon bag. Inside was moi moi and bread. "Take this," he said. Stacy hesitated. She didn't want him to think she was shameless again. But Cindy's eyes were already fixed on the food. "Thank you," Stacy whispered. Her voice broke as she collected it. The man gave a small nod and walked away quietly, as if he didn't want anyone to notice. Stacy tore the bread into small pieces and gave it to her daughter to eat with the moi moi. Cindy smiled for the first time in days as she ate. But the kindness of one man could not stop the wickedness of others. That evening, two women in the compound began gossiping loudly where Stacy could hear. So that's her new trick," one said. First she begged inside restaurant, now she is chasing men to buy her food. The other laughed. Yes-o, don't you see how she was smiling at that man? She will soon sell herself because of hunger. Stacy's ears burned. She wanted to answer them, but instead she held Cindy close and swallowed the pain. The next few days were the same. Stacy walked the streets searching for work. Sometimes she washed plates in a small eateries for a few change, enough to buy small food. Other times she returned with nothing. One afternoon, Cindy fell very sick. She was hot with fever, her small body shaking. Stacy rushed to the chemist shop, begging the man for medicine. "Lady, bring money first," the man said coldly. "I don't have now, but I will pay later. Please, help me. My child is really down with fever," Stacy pleaded. The man shook his head. "No money, no medicine. I am not running charity here." Stacy knelt on the dusty floor. Tears flowed down her face. "Please, sir. She is all I have." But the man hissed and turned away, pretending not to hear. People passing stopped to stare. Some shook their heads, others murmured, "Is that not the same woman that begged for food?" someone whispered. Stacy carried Cindy back home. Her heart felt heavy. She laid her on the mattress and placed a wet cloth on her forehead. The next morning, she heard another loud knock at her door. It was Mama Uju again, this time holding a piece of paper. "Stacy, see this? You are owing me 6 months' rent. If you don't pay, I swear you and that child will sleep outside this compound by next week." Stacy fell to her knees. "Please, Mama Uju, my child is sick. Please, don't throw us out." But Mama Uju pushed her aside. "That is not my business. If you cannot pay, leave my house. You think pity will cook rice? Useless woman." Neighbors gathered again, watching the drama with interest. Some laughed, others whispered. Stacy felt so ashamed, as if she should just disappear. That night, when everyone in the compound was asleep, she sat outside, hugging Cindy, who was still weak from fever. The night air was cold, but she had no blanket. She looked up at the sky. Tears rolled down her face. "God, why?" she whispered. "Have I not suffered enough? Why must my innocent child suffer too?" "Mommy," Cindy called weakly, stirring in her arms. Her little helpless voice shattered Stacy. She kissed her and broke into tears, almost crying her life out. But she didn't notice that from a distance, someone was watching her silently. The week passed quickly, and Stacy's troubles grew heavier. Cindy's fever came and went. Some days she could smile, other days she lay weak on the mattress, too tired to talk. Stacy did everything she could, including washing people's clothes, weeding people's small farms, carrying loads at the market, just anything to get small money for small foods and medicine. But it was never enough. One faithful afternoon, Stacy came back to the compound, her wrapper soaked with sweat. She had just finished washing clothes for a woman who gave her only N300. She planned to buy small food for Cindy, but before she could enter her room, a loud voice stopped her. "Stacy," it was Mama Uju, the landlady, standing in the middle of the compound with both hands on her waist. Around her, neighbors gathered, ready to watch another drama. "Yes, Ma," Stacy answered softly, her heart raced. "Where is my rent?" Mama Uju shouted. 6 months you have been eating free in my house, but today you will explain to everybody how you plan to pay." Stacy fell on her knees. "Please, Mama Uju, just give me more time. I am trying. My daughter is still sick. I beg you." But Mama Uju's face was hard. She rolled her hand in the air. "You are trying? With what? By begging food in restaurants? You are a disgrace." The crowd gasped and murmured. Some laughed at Stacy. Stacy bowed her head in shame, wishing that this day never came. Cindy, her little girl, hearing the noise, came out of the room and held her mother's wrapper, shaking due to her fever and the whole noise. Stacy hugged Cindy close, tears rolled down her face. "Please, Mama Uju, don't do this in front of my child. She is still very ill and innocent." But the woman only grew louder. "Oh, so I should leave you both to continue existing uselessly here? Pack your load. You and this child must leave my house today." Gasps filled the compound. 2 men stepped forward at Mama Uju's order and began dragging out Stacy's few belongings. The small mattress, a broken stool, 1 old pot. Stacy cried out, "Please, I beg you, don't throw us out." Cindy burst into tears, clinging tightly to her mother. "Please, Please." The poor child cried, but nobody listened. The neighbors only watched. Some were laughing, some recording with their phones. Just then, a familiar voice spoke from the crowd. "Stop this, please." Stacy looked up through her tears. Surprisingly, it was the same young man from the restaurant. He had been standing quietly at the back, but now he stepped forward. "Madam," he said to Mama Uju, "can you not show a little mercy? This woman is already suffering. Please give her more time." Mama Uju turned sharply to him. "And who are you, her husband? If you pity her so much, pay the rent for her." The crowd laughed. Someone shouted, "Yes, if it's true love, pay." Stacy's face burned hotter. She felt like just disappearing. But the young man stood silently for a moment, then shook his head. "I don't have the money now, but—" Before he could finish, Mama Uju cut him off. "Then keep quiet. Don't come here and teach me how to run my house. If you can't pay, don't talk." The laughter grew louder. People mocked both of them now. "See them, poor man and poor woman," one neighbor shouted. "Two beggars defending each other," another added. Stacy's heart shattered. She had never felt such shame in her life. Even the one person who had shown her kindness was now being mocked with her. She pulled Cindy into her arms, rocking her as the men dumped their belongings outside the compound. By nightfall, Stacy and her daughter were sitting outside, their things scattered around them. The neighbors had gone back inside, leaving only silence and mosquitoes. The young man returned quietly. He bent down beside Stacy. "I am sorry," he said softly. Stacy wiped her swollen eyes. "Why did you speak up for me? Now they are laughing at you too." He gave a small smile. "It doesn't matter. Sometimes people laugh because they don't know pain." Stacy looked at him closely for the first time. His clothes were simple, his shoes looked old. He looked like any ordinary man struggling to survive. There was nothing about him that showed hope. "Thank you," she whispered in a breaking voice. "You are the only person who has stood by me." The man nodded. "What matters now is where you will sleep tonight." Stacy looked at Cindy, already dozing on her lap. Her voice trembled. "We will manage outside. It won't be the first time." The man was quiet for a moment, then said, "I know a small place nearby. Not comfortable, but at least you won't sleep in the open. Come with me." Stacy hesitated, but she had no choice. She gathered her few belongings and followed him through the dimly lit streets. He led her to a small, abandoned shop. The floor was rough, the air smelled of dust, but at least there was a roof. "You can stay here tonight," he said. "Tomorrow we will think of something else." Stacy spread her mattress and laid her daughter down. She turned to the young man, her eyes shone with gratitude. "What is your name?" she asked for the first time. He paused for a moment before answering. "Felix." "Thank you, Felix," she said softly. He nodded and stepped outside, leaving her with her daughter. Stacy lay awake that night, listening to Cindy's soft breathing. She thought of the laughter, the insults, the videos people were sharing. It felt as if her life was finished, as if the whole world had turned against her. But then she remembered Felix's words. Sometimes people laugh because they don't know pain. She cried, hoping that one day her pain would end too. The small shop Felix found for them was better than nothing, but it was still a cold and dusty shelter. At night, Stacy would spread her small mattress, pull Cindy close to her chest, and prayed for morning to come quickly. But Cindy's health was getting worse. Her cough grew stronger, and her body was always hot with fever. Stacy tried local herbs, but nothing worked. One afternoon, Cindy finally collapsed in her mother's arms. "Mommy, I can't breathe well," she whispered weakly. Stacy panicked. She ran out of the shop, carrying Cindy on her back, shouting for help. "Please, somebody help me. My child is dying." People stopped to look. Some shook their heads. Others whispered, "That's the woman from the video. The beggar." Stacy didn't care. She ran like a mad woman straight to the nearest community clinic. Inside the clinic, the reception was full. Mothers with children filled the benches. Stacy rushed to the front desk, sweating hard. "Please, my daughter. She needs a doctor now. She can't breathe well," Stacy cried, placing Cindy gently on the counter. The nurse at the desk barely looked up. She was busy scrolling on her phone. "Where is your hospital card?" she asked lazily. "I don't have one. Please help me. I will do anything you say later," Stacy pleaded. The nurse hissed. Then pay consultation fee first. It's N2000, the nurse said. Stacy froze. N2000? She barely had N500 in her wrapper. Please, I don't have the money right now. Just let her see the doctor. She can't breathe. By now, the people on the benches were watching. Some recognized her face immediately. Ah, see her. The leftover woman, one man laughed. She wants free treatment now, another woman said, shaking her head. Stacy bent her knees, begging, Please have mercy. Don't let my child die. I will find the money, I promise. But the nurse only rolled her eyes. Madam, stand up from here. If you don't have money, leave. You are disturbing people. At that moment, Felix surprisingly rushed in. His face looked worried. He had followed Stacy when he saw her running. What happened? He asked, looking at Cindy's weak body. She can't breathe well, Stacy cried, and they won't attend to her. Felix turned to the nurse. Please, attend to the child first. I beg you, we will sort out the payment. The nurse gave him a hard look. Are you the one that will pay? Felix's face fell. He checked his pocket. Only a few notes, not enough. I don't have the full amount now, but I can. Before he could finish, the nurse shouted, Then stop disturbing me. You people think this place is free. If you can't pay, carry your problem and go outside. Laughter filled the clinic. People shook their heads, whispering, Look at them, both beggars. Two useless people. They should stop disgracing themselves. Stacy felt her heart break into pieces. She picked Cindy into her arms and turned toward the door. Tears streamed down her face, but she didn't cry louder. She just walked out quietly, humiliated yet again. Felix followed behind, his jaw clenched tight. Outside, Stacy staggered, clutching Cindy tightly. She turned to Felix, her eyes red. If this child dies, I will never forgive myself. Felix placed a hand on her shoulder. Don't lose hope. There is another center down the road. Let's try there, he whispered. They hurried down the street. Stacy nearly stumbled as she carried Cindy's weak body. By the time they reached the small care center, Cindy's breathing was faint. Her lips were trembling. Inside, the doctor looked at the girl and frowned. She needs urgent treatment. Felix stepped forward immediately. Doctor, please, start the treatment. I will get the money. The doctor shook his head. Deposit must be made first. That is our rule. Felix's voice broke. Then give me a little time. I will bring it. Just don't let her die. Stacy knelt on the floor, holding Cindy and sobbing. Please, doctor, she is all I have. The doctor looked uncomfortable but firm. I'm sorry, no payment, no treatment. Felix turned quickly toward the door. I will bring it, just hold on. And he rushed out into the street. Stacy stayed behind, rocking Cindy on the bed, whispering, Stay with me, my baby. Please stay. Her tears dripped onto Cindy's tiny hands as she prayed silently. About an hour passed, and that was when a man in a neat shirt walked into the ward holding a paper. Madam, he said politely, your child's bill has been fully paid. Stacy gasped. She knelt down immediately. She stretched out her hands toward him. Thank you, sir. God bless you for saving my daughter. But the man quickly lifted her up. Please, stand up. Don't thank me. Stacy looked confused. But you paid. He shook his head. No, I was only sent. Her lips trembled. Sent? By who? The man turned and pointed toward the door. By my boss. Stacy's heart raced. Slowly, the door opened. And standing there was Felix. The same Felix who walked beside her in humiliation. The same Felix who was mocked as a beggar. Stacy's mouth opened wide. She staggered back. Felix? The same Felix I know? Or another? He stepped into the room calmly. The man who brought the receipt bowed slightly as Felix passed, calling him softly, Sir? Stacy's knees grew weak. What is happening? Felix walked closer. Stacy, it's me. I sent him to clear the bill. Her lips shook. But you didn't have money. How come he's calling you his boss? Felix gave a faint smile. Yes, Stacy, I am not just the man you thought I was. I am Felix Akete, a businessman and a billionaire. I hid my true identity because I wanted to know if people like you still existed in this world. People who are strong, kind, and pure even when life gives them nothing. Stacy gasped. Tears poured freely from her eyes. A billionaire? You, all this time? Yes, Felix said, but more important than that, I saw your heart. I saw how you endured mockery and shame just to protect your daughter. I saw how you never gave up, even when life broke you down. And in you, Stacy, I found something money cannot buy. A strong woman with a true heart. Stacy's voice cracked. So someone important saw my struggles and pain and understood. Felix's eyes softened. Yes, and that's because God wanted me to see you that very day. Stacy broke down and warm tears fell from her eyes. Few days after Cindy's recovery, Felix took them shopping. They entered a big supermarket shining with bright lights. Felix gave her a basket. Pick what you and Cindy need. Anything. Her hand shook. These things are too expensive, Felix. Felix smiled. Don't worry about price, just think of your daughter. At the counter, the cashier looked at Stacy's faded clothes and hissed, Madam, are you sure you can pay for all this? Please drop them back. Before Stacy could explain, Felix stepped forward and placed his card on the counter. Bill everything. The cashier's eyes widened when she saw the name on the card. Payment approved. Gasps went around. Customers whispered, Who is he? He must be a rich person. For the first time, Stacy felt respected. Later, Felix's car pulled into Mama Uju's compound. Neighbors rushed out, whispering and laughing. Mama Uju folded her arms proudly. So you are back, this time with car you borrowed. Poverty is written all over you. The neighbors laughed. Yes, this her so-called man must have borrowed car from his friend. Felix only smiled calmly. One of his men brought a black case and opened it on a stool. Gasps filled the air. Inside were bundles of fresh cash. Felix turned to Mama Uju, his voice calm but heavy. This is 20 times the rent Stacy owed you. Take it. But know this, your insults were never about money. You despised her because she was struggling, but I promise you no one will despise her ever again. The crowd went silent. Felix continued. The world laughed at her, mocked her, treated her like trash. But today the same world will honor her. Stacy stepped forward majestically, her eyes shining with new strength. You all mocked me. You recorded me. You called me shameless. But God has taken away my shame. The very man you mocked as a beggar is the man God sent to bless my life and lift me from the ground. Her voice grew stronger. Never look down on anyone who is struggling. I was only fighting for my daughter, and you turned it into a joke. But today, all your laughter has been turned into silence. The neighbors bowed their heads in shame. Mama Uju froze, powerless. Felix placed his hand gently on Stacy's shoulder. She carried Cindy into her arms, lifting her high, and marched into the car. The crowd that once laughed now watched in awe. From that day, Stacy's story changed forever. She was no longer the woman mocked as the beggar. She was the woman who survived from shame into glory, honored by a billionaire who saw her true worth when no one else did. Never despise a struggling mother or someone who is fighting to survive. Today's beggar can be tomorrow's blessing. Stacy's story reminds us that when God decides to lift a person, no one can stop it. What about you? Do you believe every struggle has an end? This has been Roots of the African Tales. If this story touched you, like, share, and subscribe so more people can hear powerful stories like this one.